Welcome back, everybody. This is the mid-show check-in where we talk a little bit about how the competition has been going while we try not to look at the mess that is my office. Anyway, I want to know, press the number 1 in the chat if you've been having fun so far with the VGC portion, and if you're like so excited and ready for TCG. Press the number 2 in the chat if you think I am, in fact, the most beautiful woman in the world. And press the number 3 in the chat if you want to give me money. And press the number 4 in the chat if you already donated to our cause, which should be the second number you press, you know? Anyway, everybody, I just want to talk about a few things before we continue to VGC. First of all, I want to thank everyone for being here, and I want to thank everyone for being okay. So Peril, you want to give me money? Thank you so much. I will be taking, like, it's so, like, you can just go to my you know, like, throne or whatever, something like that, and then give me some money. Thank you so much. Happy Game Month. But anyway, basically what we're doing today, or the charity that we're supporting, is called the Lambert House. So we are in partnership with PKMNpride, which is a community event fundraiser organized by Nora in the Future, where during Pride Month, a bunch of content creators get together and play Pokemon to raise money for charity that supports queer people. And this time around, as I said, we're all supporting Lambert House with LGBTQ+ Youth Center in Seattle. And the Lambert House is a safe space for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning youth ages 10 to 22. And they have a calendar that is packed with fun activities, dinners, support groups, planning meetings, dances, and other activities. They are a place where queer people and queer youth make life better for each other. And we are very proud to be able to support them. And we are also very happy to see how much we already were able to raise so far, which is way more than we generally raise in our events. So this is really, really something that makes us happy. Now, before we close the door on the VGC realm, I would like to just show a few things that are interesting and that talk about how it's sometimes having a girly pop or corner of the internet is always important. I want to show you a little bit of our Pokemon, a little bit of a Pokemon usage. So for the VGC, out of the 30 teams that we had, these are the top 6 Pokemon most used in all those teams. So we have Floette, Frostlass, and Milotic, who are present in 20% of the teams. And then we had Sinistcha, Sylveon, and Vivillon, who were present in 17% of the teams, which honestly is really gay. It is really, really gay, homosexual, and queer. So we are really making the girly pop agenda work. Now, I want to call your attention that we had a total of 180 unique Pokemon. So out of 30 teams, we had so many different Pokemon, so many different people bringing their Pokemon to work. And it was like so much fun to see how many different Pokemon were there and how many Pokemon we were able to see, you know, playing in this competition. So we're very happy to see what happens when you limit the meta a little bit to just take out maybe the most used Pokemon, which allows people to be creative and think about something different, right? And then bring some different ways of thinking about Pokemon competitive. Which brings me to TCG, because we did the same thing with TCG. If you remember very well, our amazing TCG group of people decided to do, on the standard format, banning 3 of the most used cards, which gave us very interesting teams. We're going to see a few matchups, so let me show you how the matchups look like. We have Natata versus Amyverse first, and then we have Jorge versus Jord after. And what we're going to watch first with Natata and Amyverse are our Mega Starmie deck against if I remember correctly, a Mega Frostlass deck. And to be completely honest, we love gay, and it's awesome. And I love that. And we are so ready to have a gay old time. Now, everyone, I'm going to leave you to another break so we can get ready, so we can get these people here and get ready for some TCG. I hope you all have fun. We're going to play this competition in TCG Live for anybody who was wondering. And we hope to see you in the next few minutes when we set everything up. And I hope you continue donating. Thank you so much for being here. I am Shiny Stone, and I hope you can give money to gay people. Bye! Hi everyone. I just want to do a bit of a correction. Mega Frostland and Mega Starmie are on the same deck against an Alakazam deck. So now that we are corrected, we're going to go back to the intermission. Thank you so much and see you in a minute.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second half of the Girly Pop Games Ho-Ohdown here in support of the Lambert House Youth Centre in Seattle. It's time for TCG action, and we are really, really looking forward to this. My name is Ben Fitzpatrick. It's an absolute privilege and a pleasure to be a part of this event, and by my side is Freya Pierce, none other than Freya Pierce. Hello, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm incredibly stoked to be a part of this. I remember when it was first announced that this was going on, and there was feelers put out, oh, no one likes to cast be a part of this, and I thought, if anyone should probably throw their hat in the ring, it probably should be me, right? I'm very grateful that I did, and I reached out, and after that, yeah, here I am. And what just a really awesome thing to be a part of in general, that this is even a thing that exists at all in the first place. So yeah, I'm super stoked to be here, extremely honored and privileged to be here, and really looking forward to these games. The top 4 of the Girly Pop Cup, of course, with the Swiss rounds, they've already happened. They happened off stream, of course.
Yeah, they did. Absolutely. We started playing the TCG portion last week. We started with 8 players and under a very different sort of rule set to what you may be used to playing in sort of your local leagues, your cups, your challenges, or even the grand stages, the regionals and the world championships as well. We decided that, you know what, we've had enough of seeing cards like Dragapult EX, like Crustle, like Raging Bolt EX running around. So let's just send them away for this event. Let's make it so that nobody could play those cards. And it's ended up with some really different and interesting decks making it through into top 4.
Yeah, it really has. So, and just to make it abundantly clear, that's a very literal rundown of what has happened. So this is a standard format tournament, but with those 3 cards banned. No Dragapult EX, no Crustle with that Mysterious Rock in, and no Raging Bolt EX. So plenty of other things that, you might still find in the metagame around, but with Dragapult being such a gatekeeper in the regular standard format, it makes a lot of sense if you want to mix things up that, that would be the card to go. And yeah, it has borne out in a pretty gosh darn interesting top 4, as Ross might say.
Yeah, it has indeed. It's left us with Mega Starmie and Mega Frostlass as one deck, Alakazam as another, which saw some really strong success in the hands of Keris Jones just a short while ago in the real standard format. Absolutely. A really interesting Salazzle deck, as well as Delphox and Emboar as the final deck in the top 4. Those last 2 we can worry about in just a moment, because our first semi-final feature match is going to be this Mega Starmie Mega Frostlass deck up against Alakazam.
Yeah, and this is such a funny coincidence. So early on today, I did actually attend a mid-year celebration, which I'd highly recommend for all of you watching at home. If you have a Pokemon League near you, go to that. It's basically something that's going on at Pokemon Leagues during the off season, between like the end of the current competitive season and the start of the next one. And it's a really fun time where you get to, there's so many different things going on. I came second during that, and
nice.
Like, funnily enough, one of the matches I played was this exact one. I was on the Alakazam side, and I played against a Mega Starmie and Mega Frostlass deck. So this matchup is very fresh in my mind, believe it or not.
Well, amazing. We'll be able to take everybody through it as we're getting ready to jump in to our game. The players are setting up on TCG Live. It will be Natata who will be piloting the Mega Starmie Mega Frostlass deck, and it will be Amyverse that will be piloting Alakazam. And Alakazam is a really fun deck for those that have not seen it before. If you like cards and you like drawing them, and a lot of them, then Alakazam is going to be your deck. It has that powerful hand attack that does 2 damage counters for each card that you have in your hand. And we're underway.
We're kicking things off straight away. It looks like it will be Natatak going first with not the most amazing opening hand to begin with, just really a water energy, and it's just a pass after that. Oh, it's a brutal start. There's so much else going on in this Mega Starmie Mega Frostlass deck, and this is really not what you want to be starting with. Meanwhile, on the other hand, a much better start from Amy does go ahead and slam down that Buddy Puffin, so she'll be able to start getting down those lower evolutions immediately. So with this Buddy Puffin, of course, you can search for 2 basic Pokemon with 70 HP or less and put them on your bench from your deck. And so, yeah, beat me to it, put down an Abra and a Dunsparce. So this is the engine that gets you going. Like you said, Ben, the Kadabra and the Alakazam draw a bunch of cards, but so does that the Dunsparce. And why might you want to draw a bunch of cards with the Alakazam deck, Ben?
Yeah, absolutely, because that powerful hand allows you to do 2 damage counters onto a Pokemon for each card that you have in your hand when you declare the attack, and it's only for 1 Psychic Energy, which is being attached onto one of the benched Abra, and it's one of the best Psychic Energy we've got in the format right now as well, Freya. The Telepathic Psychic Energy, allowing to search out 2 Psychic Pokemon basics that are being benched here. We've got the Dunsparce as well, the Lucky Helmet being attached, and a pass of the turn. I mean, you're comparing the 2 players. This is a really, really strong start for Amyverse.
It is, but at the same time, this is the one thing that could be very, especially with that, the boss's orders. So the thing is about this particular list of the Alakazam, and this is something that came up in the matchup in the version of it I played earlier. If you can get an early Mega Starmie and do this, a double knockout, because of course with that Jetting Blow, you do 120 to the active and 50 to a bench Pokemon. That is exactly enough damage to KO 2 Abras in one go. So with the fact that there's no Shaman down, of course that Shaman with the Flower Curtain that normally protects bench non-rulebox Pokemon from bench damage, this Mega Starmie is going to start to put a lot of hurt onto Amy, even though like a Nesta setup was not even that that much going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, being a mega Pokemon, that big hefty 330 HP that Natata is going to have to, Amyverse, is going to have to try and get through with all of the cards that will be drawn. We see the first Dunsparce getting activated with its runaway draw ability. You can use it, draw 3 cards into hand, and then the Dunsparce and the Dunsparce both will get shuffled right back into the deck, allowing you to potentially try and search and use them out again. We're now seeing LGM getting played down onto the bench, and this could be a really interesting tool with its Slight Shift attack.
Yeah, so this is kind of part of that mini control package that we were talking about Keris Jones earlier. She really innovated it in this Alakazam deck. The idea being for that 1 Psychic Energy, Slight Shift, you can take any energy on your opponent's side of the field and move it to another Pokemon. So in this current situation where there's really not a lot going for Amy, she's had 2 of her Abras wiped out, there's only 1 Kadabra left on the bench. She wants to really try and deny an attack from the Mega Starmie as much as you can. So she's going to probably end up using that Slight Shift to move to her Water Energy onto the Dunsparce. And is able, very importantly, was able to get down 3 Abra. Now, this is very important because we can see already that Amy is holding on to another boss's orders and another Water Energy. So she's actually going to be able to take another double knockout here by bringing up that Kadabra on the bench and then carrying another Abra. This is very, very tough for the Alakazam deck if you don't play that Flower Curtain and Shaman. And that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah, absolutely. There is the Slight Shift being used, the movement onto the Dunsparce of the Water Energy. And Natata, looking for a Hilda play here, is going to go and grab an Evolution Pokemon as well as the A-Spec of choice in this deck, the Legacy Energy.
Yeah, this is commonly the A-Spec of choice in this deck. When it is attached to a Pokemon, it can provide one of any type, so it's like a rolled Rainbow Energy, but it also carries the extra effect where if the Pokemon that it's on is knocked out by damage, your opponent takes 1 less prize card, so it turns Mega Starmie from a 1 prize to 3 prizer into a 2 prizer. But with playing the Hilda, is actually deciding, you know what? I'm happy just taking the double knockout here. I want to deal with this Elgym. I still take 2 prize cards here, so I don't necessarily mind just being in a position where my opponent has 2 a Kadabra and an Abra left because I only need 2 more prize cards to win the game. And what Ignition Energy and a boss's orders on that Pheasantipity will win here. So I actually think I like this line from Natata as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there is the knockout being taken, Kadabra being promoted up from the bench, flipped the script of the Pheasantipity EX being used. If one of your Pokemon are knocked out during your turn, you get to use the ability and draw 3 cards.
Wait.
Now we see the first Alakazam. We might have game here, maybe.
Yeah, hold on a second. Yeah, I was saying I like this line, but I just realized there's no other bench Pokemon. So actually, this is a huge gamble. All Amy now needs is 1 energy to win the game. That's it. That's going to be game 1 over.
Yep, Hilda will grab the Evolution Pokemon of choice and the Psychic Energy. It'll be Telepathic Energy that we will grab. No cards to be able to search, but that's not what we need here. Powerful hand, 19 cards, 380 damage counters, and Amy will take game 1.
here I was, saying, it's such a commanding position that Natsuto's so close to winning this, but yeah, maybe shouldn't have even opted to use that runaway draw on the Dunsparce just to have another Pokemon down, right? Because now with only one Pokemon down, if that last Pokemon gets knocked out, you lose. It doesn't matter about any prize cards left. So yeah, perhaps a slight misstep from Natsuto here.
Yeah, it's intriguing as well because in fairness to Natata, they didn't necessarily have the greatest start or opening hand. There wasn't any Buddy Poffins, there wasn't any Pokepads to be able to start searching more of those Pokemon out. We didn't even get to see a Snorunt, let alone a Mega Frostlass come down onto the bench for Natata during that game 1. And even with Amyverse suffering 4 KOs in pretty quick succession, was still able to find the cards and show the power of just drawing a load of cards into hand.
And able to do a 380 damage powerful hand for the knockout on the Mega Starmie. It doesn't matter how many prize cards you take if you wipe out your last opponent's Pokemon in play. Goodness me, and yeah. So we're going into a game 2, and Amy's going to be feeling very thrilled about that because, like I was just talking about earlier, it is very, very tough to win as the Alakazam player if you don't play Shaman. So the fact that even without any Shaman, Able was able to kind of steal that one there, she's going to be very happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And really intriguing as well to not find the Shaman, and if many players are even playing the Shaman in this event, obviously not having to worry about the fear of running into Dragapult EX and its Phantom Dive attack to be able to do 200 damage to the active and spreading counters around as well.
But to be fair, don't forget with the Shaman, it only prevents bench damage, not damage counters, and Phantom Dive does damage counters, so Shaman wouldn't do anything about Dragapult EX anyway. So I think the decision to not play it more comes down to, not thinking about things like, Mega Starmie would be one. There's Terra Greninja could be another bench sniper that you might consider in terms of whether you play Shaman or not. But Amy deciding not to play it, and I bet at least in this matchup she does wish she had it, but she managed to take a game without it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So means that she's just going to be one game away from making it into our final. And as for Natata, is going to have to rebound and take the next 2 games to be able to take the victory here in our first of 2 matches before we get to that grand final placement as well. I'm really hoping to see a little bit more out of Natata's deck here in game 2. Like I said, we didn't even get to see a Snorunt getting played down on the bench in that game 1. So hopefully we can get to see the power of the Mega Frostlass EX, because that's a really, really fun card.
It really is. So yeah, let's see how things come in here. So the way it works in a best of 3, I mean, with TCG Live, it always asks you to randomize it, but normally you agree with the other player, as you do it in a real life tournament, who gets to go first or who gets to choose to go first. Whoever lost in game 1 gets to pick that for game 2. So we'll see what will be happening here, and it looks like Amy is choosing to go second, interestingly enough. Okay.
Yeah, I think Natata winning the coin flip there and electing to go first isn't going to have a basic Pokemon in hand, it seems like. So we are going to see our Mulligan. Of course, if you're newer to the Pokemon TCG, you have to draw your opening 7-card hand. And if you find a basic Pokemon in that hand, then that is the hand that you will keep and start the game with. But if you don't, you have to redraw. Go until you do find a basic Pokemon, and every mulligan you do take, your opponent gets an extra card drawn before the game kicks off. But here we are, the game has kicked off, we're underway. Abra and Dunsparce start for Amy, and just the lone Staryu for Natata, but does have Buddy Poffin to kick things off for game 2.
That is already looking a lot better. So yes, of course, when Natata losing was able to choose to go first, regardless of kind of convenient that the coin flip worked out that way, regardless. With the Buddy Poffin down, we'll be able to evolve onto the Dunsparce next turn. Snorunt down as well for flexibility. Just a pass after that, but already a much better start in game 2 than in game 1. So how does Amy respond here with a Buddy Poffin of her own? Okay, so both players off to a pretty good start here, it seems.
Yeah, really strong start for both players, getting that bench nice and filled up. Going to grab second Abra and second Dunsparce here as well, making sure that they get that Dunsparce engine continuing up. And now we have that telepathic psychic energy once again being attached onto the active, grabs us more of the Abras. Dawn now coming down here as well. That's going to be our supporter for turn, which we can only play one of during our turn, but it lets us grab a basic Pokemon, a stage 1 and a stage 2 to be able to start thinking about evolving up some of those Pokemon on our next turn.
So Dawn is one of the main supporters that really makes this deck work. The fact that you have so many like different lines across all of the evolution stages that all work well and they have synergy and do different things makes Dawn really work here. So here, for example, you grab another Abra, you grab some mixture of, Dunsparce and Kadabra and Alakazam, and you're off to the races next turn. So it is the key that makes this deck really work. Along with the Hilda, of course, can search out those energies and more evolutions there. Meanwhile, as we go over to Natata's turn, Runaway Draw comes in to draw 3 cards. We do see a Hilda already ready to go. And honestly, that's basically all Natata really needs, because, we'll be able to grab a Legacy Energy and a Mega Starmie here. Now, I was having a little bit of a chat with our third co-caster, Trans Icon Milotic here, and she's asked me to remind everyone of something very, very important. So, I was talking earlier about how Legacy Energy, of course, when the Pokemon it's attached to is knocked out by damage, your opponent takes 1 less prize card. But something very important to remember, because Alakazam places damage counters instead of doing damage, it actually plays through the effect of Legacy Energy. So even with Legacy Energy on, any Alakazam KOing a Mega Starmie is still going to take 3 prize cards, which is pretty brutal.
Yeah, that's an amazing call as well, an amazing point of distinction for this matchup in particular. Meanwhile, while that's going on, we see our first double KO getting hit for Mega Starmie EX. Jetting Blow taking care of one of the Dunsparces and the Abra that had the energy attached onto it. Promoting the Dunsparce, here is the telepathic psychic energy. It's Dedenne that we're going to bring forward from the telepathic psychic energy ability. Another one of those Keris Jones control innovations.
Yes, so this one specifically, it has 2 attacks. So one is for 1 psychic energy, Gnaw. It does 30 damage, and even that could be useful because you can use it to KO a Budu. That has 30 HP. But the main attack that is in there for is that electromagnetic sonar, which lets you get any trainer card back from your discard piles. So the main reason why you play this, you play copies of a few different trainers that you don't necessarily use in every single matchup, but in some matchups are very important. So against Crustle, for example, which granted you can't play in this tournament, but as a general thing to have, you can play Enhance Hammer to discard all their energies and then use electromagnetic sonar to keep getting them back. So that is why Dedenne is in there as part of that control package for this Alakazam deck.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see the Dunsparce evolve up into the Dunsparce, we are going to Runaway Draw straight away. We do have that Kadabra with the Psychic Energy attached onto it. That will be able to Super Psybolt on this turn, potentially. But we are going to go with the Dedenne promotion here.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. I guess maybe so. This is a recognition that Amy doesn't feel confident in getting out an Alakazam this turn. In fact, it's basically now guaranteed because she's evolved all of her Abra into Kadabra instead. So with that in mind, it's just going to be a handheld fan onto the Dedenne just to make life a bit of an annoyance in terms of energy attachments for Natata. And then I assume that we're going to see Boss's Orders first. Maybe, so it's going to try and buy some time here. There's gonna be a choice between either a Snorunt or a Monkey Dory, and Monkey Dory is the choice. And then I imagine, we're gonna see. There's the Enhanced Hammer coming in. Okay, so that comes in very handy, but no energy for the Dedenne, so it's kind of just going up just like as a sacrificial Dedenne to take a hit essentially.
Yeah, very much a buying time turn, as you called it, an annoyance turn to just boss up this Monkey Dory, try and keep it trapped in the active, and then the Enhanced Hammer to go along with it, meaning that it's not just as simple as an energy attachment onto the Monkey Dory, retreat back into the Mega Starmie EX, and then attack once again. We see the last-ditch catch come through here of the Meowth EX, a Pokemon that has become a massive staple in the Pokemon TCG to be able to find any supporter card that you want when it is placed down onto the bench, and that supporter is going to be Crispin here, which will be the perfect answer to this stall play that Amy was trying to accomplish.
Yes, and also going to get a little extra benefit here. Whilst that Dark Energy is on, why not use that Adrenabrain? Move that 10 damage that was on the Mega Starmie onto something else. And then you can go ahead and retreat. And this is how one of the few ways that this deck can get around this stall play, because there's 2 switches in the deck, but Natata wasn't able to find any. So yeah, just use the Meowth, get the Crispin, get 2 energy down so you can retreat with 1, and then bring back that Mega Starmie to Jetting Blow again. Now, there's not going to be a double knockout possible here, but let's see where she decides to put this 50 damage. It's going to be... I think you don't want to put it on the Dunsparce because then it could just go away from the Runaway Draw, and that essentially is for naught. So I think putting it on the Fendipity EX, which to me, I can see making sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Tries to set up that potential for a 3-prize turn later on if we get another jetting blow onto the Pheasantipity EX, and then a little bit of extra softening damage by something like the Adrenabrain. We see Risky Ruins as well as a stadium choice potentially to be able to put some damage counters onto non-dark type Pokemon. But now we see the A-spec of choice for Amy's deck for Alakazam. It is that Enriching Energy, of course. Attach it onto a Pokemon and you draw 4 cards. And the beauty of Enriching Energy in this deck is what we might be about to see here, Freya.
Yes, I think you've seen it as well. I see it. Maybe we all see it. So, with that runaway draw ability, because it shuffles itself and all cards attached back into the deck, if you have another energy ready to go to attack with, you essentially use your energy attachment for turn to draw 4 cards. You use the runaway draw to shuffle that enriching energy that you attach to a Dunsparce back into the deck, and then you can just use it again.
Yeah, it's a really, really powerful combination that can continue to potentially loop. We are just going to powerful hand, however, for this turn, keeping the Dunsparce on the bench. Is going to take care of that Mega Starmie EX, takes all 3 prizes, and puts Meowth EX up into the active now.
Okay, so slight awkward thing here is that because Natsuta wasn't able to get down another Staryu, we're not going to see another Mega Starmie attack this turn. There's no supporters in this set like Salvatore. We see that sometimes teched in the Mega Starmie deck just to get the attack going more quickly, but that not being an option here, it looks like it's going to be... Oh, this is potentially very risky, actually, because we see a powering up on the Mega Frostlass, but this is something very important to know. I've been looking at the deck list, Ben. There is no hand disruption option for Natata, so Amy's going to get to keep that 21-card hand, and it is not going to be very... I mean, okay, sure, you do 1,050 damage to Alakazam, and that will do
That
the
is
trick.
Nothing but a statement there, Freya. I am here to deal massive damage. You can keep the 21-card hand. I want to deal 1,000 damage. But the big question here for Amyverse, do we see Alakazam and do we see energy attachment? If we do, this game is over. There's the Alakazam. We'll get a psychic draw as well to be able to draw 3 more cards from the deck. Surely we've got to see a psychic attachment. We're going to wait
it's guaranteed.
for it, though.
You can draw 6 cards. It's guaranteed.
It absolutely has to be, as long as there's psychic energy left in the deck. There is the runaway draw number 1. Do we find it? There's runaway draw number 2. The Alakazam goes ahead and goes back into the deck. Do we find it? Yes, we do! We had to work for it a little bit, but there it is, 620 damage. And Amy says, you can do your 1,000 damage. I don't mind. The 600 I do is putting me right into the final of the Girly Pop Games Ho-Ohdown.
Yeah, huge congratulations there to Amy, and yeah, commiserations to Natata. It is tough when you go into a matchup knowing it's like a little bit you think it's favored, right? And there's no shame in the deck, so you want to prey on that. But it just feels like the way that the matchup played out, Natata really wasn't able to focus down on that Mega Starmie as much as she would like. I think that was the big struggle that she had during those games.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, the annoyance play that was able to be pulled off in that game too from Amyverse to be able to slight shift onto elsewhere, get the enhanced hammer going on as well to disrupt the legacy energy and make it so that Natata had to burn the Meowth EX into Crispin to try and power things up. Couldn't keep that darkness energy onto the Monkey Dory, which is another combination and card that has been really, really strong in the standard format in the Pokemon TCG for quite some time. And ultimately, Alakazam gonna be Alakazam and draw a bunch of cards.
And not only that as well, but forcing the Meowth to go for Crispin means that Natata couldn't play another supporter to draw more cards to maybe find a backup Staryu, because that was what she was really missing. If you just keep attacking with Jetting Blow, you're probably feeling pretty fine, generally speaking. But after that one Mega Starmie went down, she was then forced to attack with the Mega Frostlass, which gave Amy an opening to attack and win, as we saw there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what a first game, or what a first set that was. Amy, congratulations going through to the final on Alakazam, and commiserations to Natata on Mega Frostlass and Mega Starmie EX. Not going to walk away empty-handed, though, by making it through into our finals day today. They will be walking away with 50 code cards. Our winner, though, will be taking 200 code cards away. as their prize. So a great opening game. We're going to have one more semi-final as well as our grand final. So be sure that you stick around to the Girly Pop Games Ho-Oh Finals Day in support for an amazing cause as well.
Yeah, but I do believe that before we go to a break, I believe we are going to have an interview with Shiny and our 2 players. So, Shiny, over to you.
Well, everybody, we are back. I am here with our semifinalists, Natata and Amy Verse. What a match. I'm going to be completely honest. I spent lots of years outside of TCG, and then I came back a little bit to try to understand what's going on. I will say mechanics, different cards, many things happening. It was a lot of fun to watch and so many things to talk about. But first of all, I want to congratulate Amy for winning the first best of 3 of the competition and guaranteeing your spot on the top 2. So congratulations, Amy.
Thank you so much.
I am not going to go too into your strategy and your deck because you still have a best of 3 to go through. So I want to talk to Natata first. Natata, would you like to talk a little bit about your deck? I was gagged. That 1,000 damage, 1,000 damage. Girl, when I started playing that game, 100 was a lot. 1,050, I was like, she said, and you know what? You're going to try my Mega Starmie. I am going to deliver a bomb to your house in the form of 1,000 damage. So would love to hear more about that.
Mega Frostlass definitely packs a punch. That's why it's my backup attacker. Really, the deck is designed so that Mega Starmie can just come in and do her thing first because she's just so fast. And just really puts that early game pressure on. Ideally, you're not going to have that many turns in the game for Mega Starmie to just take everything out. You will just start messing with people's setup, messing with their game, and that's how Mega Starmie became my star player, so to speak. No pun intended, but kind of, sort of. And then Frostlass really is just kind of there for the backup. We were supposed to have a theme for our deck, and the theme of my deck was water symbol divas. So we have Starmie and Frostlass. I mean, my Starmie wears a tiara, as you can see. She is a diva. And Frostlass, I mean, Frostlass is always a diva. I mean, just look at her. I mean, you cannot deny, like, diva status.
I mean,
so when
she
you guys
attacks,
said to have a theme.
Yeah. When she attacks on Champions, she just sends a kiss with Blizzard, right? So how can you not love Mega Frostlass, right? I will say, the homosexuals are very happy with your choices. I would say that because it's just incredible. The Starmie with a tiara was absolutely inducted into the universe of Regirock with a handbag. You know, Conti Regirock with a handbag has now new sisters. You know, it's up there with the Reggies. I think it was very. What I noticed from my perspective is that you have a very strong and straightforward setup, if that makes sense. But it does seem like an Alakazam deck is a really hard deck for you to kind of like play around. Is that correct to assume?
Very. Alakazam is one of my tougher matchups because as I was just discussing prior to this interview, anything that Mega Frostlass can do, unfortunately, Alakazam can just do a little bit better. It is not reliant on what the other player is doing. It's reliant on what you are doing. And Frostlass, if you can successfully play down your hand, can really put itself to where I'm doing next to nothing at all. You really do rely on the Starmie. And because Alakazam also places damage counters as opposed to just doing damage outright, it gets around things like my energy that helps my prize trade. Absolutely. So I really do struggle with the prize trade into that one. It is very much, I have to win fast or I'm not going to win at all. And today, Amy just had every card she needed. It was a very close match, but the first game, I got a little too greedy, I will admit. I got so greedy. I wanted to try and boss and boss and boss and boss and boss. And I was like, ooh, I got all my bosses. Well, we're just going to be the boss today. And then it just kind of bit me in the butt. So,
well,
we live, we learn.
Listen, I think we're all guilty of doing that from time to time. Now, Amy, I wanted to ask from you, without revealing too much, of course, what were the highlights of the match for you, aside from basically just, buying your entire deck in a few turns?
So honestly, the matchup does seem a little bit in my favor, but I can't lie, I was a little bit stressed because if you don't draw exactly what you need at the start and get your Abra set up early, especially after losing the coin flip twice, I was very worried that Nat was going to be able to just KO 2 of my Abras at once, which we did see in that first game, which kind of put me a bit on the back pedal, and I was only able to win kind of because she didn't have any other bench Pokemon, but I was already like at a pretty big disadvantage at the start, and that's kind of what happened in Swiss as well, because I lost to Nat in the Swiss rounds, because I just got wiped. Abra's 50 HP is not quite that much, and being able to just get hit on the bench against a Mega Starmie is pretty bad. But thankfully, I was able to draw pretty well. I think in that second game, my hand was pretty dead. But then with the two mulligan cards I had were a Buddy Poffin and a Telepathic Energy. So I just managed to get my entire board set up and make it so that the 50 damage from the Starmie just wasn't able to do too much.
And I mean, to be completely honest, from my perspective, it seemed like the game was in Atata's favor until that Alakazam dropped in the field. From the moment that Alakazam just entered the field, it was over, it was done. Wigs were snatched, nails were broken. Like, you know, everybody was found jobless. It was just like ending everything. So it was really cool to see. And I do personally love a story of a gameplay when it seems like it seems like you're not set up for success, and then boom, here's your card, here's your strategy, it works, and then you then end up winning real fast, which is really cool to see. So Amy, thank you so much for playing amazingly. I'm so excited to see what you get ready for the final 2. But before we go, and before we let you go, Natata, any thank yous, any shout outs you would like to give, anything else you would like to say to all the girly pops that are watching us today?
Thank you to the whole Girly Pop Games team. This tournament is amazing. It's been amazing. It's been quite the experience. Thank you to Amy for being an excellent opponent, both in Swiss and in finals. Thank you to my folks over on Discord, as well as all of my followers on TikTok that have been encouraging me to stream. I really want to thank my boyfriend, Fredo HTX, who was the one that told me to get on with streaming and encouraged me to do it, because at first I was just way too shy and was scared that it wasn't going to be for me. But I'm so glad that I did, and I'm so glad that I got to participate in this event. All of the money that I made in TikTok gifts from Swiss last week will be going to the charity as well. So I'm going to be taking that amount in US dollars, doubling it, and putting that toward Lambert House. So happy Pride, everybody.
Happy Pride, everybody. Thank you so much. That is really nice. Happy Pride for all the queers at home. I will give you all and put you in a little bit of an intermission while we prepare for the next semifinal. Thank you so much for watching, Natata. Thank you so much for an amazing games and gameplay. Amy, we see you in the finals, and we'll be right back.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our TCG coverage of the Girly Pop Games Ho-Ohdown Finals Day. Ben Fitzpatrick and Freya Pierce here with you to bring you the second semi-final after we just saw a really great matchup between Amyverse on Alakazam and Natata on Mega Starmie and Mega Frostlass. But for our second semi-final, we've got two really cool and quite innovative decks.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say for our first semi-final, we have two decks which are very much still around in the metagame, just, you know, not on level of some of the cards that we banned, for example, but still showing up with great results. On the other hand, we have two absolute wild cards for this other semi-final match, I tell you that. We have Jose playing Salazzle the Dunsparce with Mega Lopunny as a backup attacker, and then we have Yord playing Delphox Emboar, so I don't know how this is going to go, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, these aren't necessarily Pokemon and cards that we generally get to see a lot of in the Pokemon TCG. The Dunsparce obviously is running around runaway drawing all over the format, and Mega Lopunny EX has been having a little bit of opportunity as a backup attacker to Zoroark in a previous format, then also as its own deck as kind of a throwback to Galissapod GX for those that have been around the block as TCG players before. But it's a really fun card and a really fun build with this Mega Salazzle from Perfect Order up against the Delphox and Emboar, which are all some newer format as well.
Yeah, the Delphox, of course, is a new card from Chaos Rising. Does have that really wonderful Flaring Magic ability. Lets you, once during your turn, discard a basic fire energy from your hand to draw until you have 7 cards in hand. And then the attack Energized Storm does 30 damage to each energy attached to all Pokemon. So it is very simple. You get out your Delphox, you get out your Emboar, you whack down a queer ton of energy, and you just hit very hard.
Absolutely, there's a double-digit energy count in this deck, which you wouldn't be surprised to hear, but we are getting ourselves underway for game number 1. We've got a glorious illustration rare Fennekin on the side of Jordan the Active, and Baneri paired with Pecharunt on the bench as we see a Pokepad.
So Pokepad, relatively new card that debuted in Ascended Heroes, has become a very stable, amazing search card that just on an item lets you search for any non-rulebox Pokemon for your deck. Gonna play one to get out that Dunsparce, but gonna save the other one for now, knowing that there's no Badu threat coming from knowing again the open deck list. So just gonna save that one for next turn. And meanwhile, you're just gonna go for a fire attachment and a call for family. I mean, this is also fine, right? Just get your basics set up, right? If you've got nothing else going on.
Yeah, no items or supporters to be played, though, will give a little bit of cause for concern for Jord. We are going to fire off that second Pokepad that we had held in hand. We've got the Dunsparce now active on online. Going to get us the opportunity to draw a few more cards. We've also got the access to a supporter for turn in the Team Rocket's Petrol if we want it. But look at that for a find off of the runaway draw. We get the Buddy Poffin to really continue to start setting up.
So yeah, going to get another Dunsparce down and get that Salandit down. So pretty soon we're going to start seeing some Slaslacture, I think. But for now, we're going to put down that second Dunsparce, evolve to Mega Lopunny, and going to go for that Spiky Hopper. So normally you use that first attack, the Gale Thrust, which does 230 damage if you bring it into the active that turn, but not able to switch out. So just going to attach an extra energy and do that Spiky Hopper for 160 instead. That'll get the job done for a knockout.
Yeah, it absolutely will. Removes one of the Fennekins off the board, gets the only fire energy that was attached off the board as well. And now over to Jord's side, who'd really want to start trying to power up through this Fennekin, maybe find a rare candy as well to be able to skip the Brazen evolution and go straight up into Delphox. We are seeing the Ultra Ball being played here, discarding away 2 cards. One of them a Pignite, the other a Fire Energy, and there is the Delphox. We have rare candy as well, so we can evolve straight up into the Delphox, and here comes Lana's aid now as well to bring back some of those fire energies.
Really a solid find there, and yeah, whack one of those onto the Delphox for good measure, because then you can use the other fire energy, get back to use that flaring magic, and draw until you have 7 cards in hand. This should hopefully, for you to get him a few more things to work with. Defend another Fennekin, so you can start to get more of those online. Of course, the more you get online, the more you can use that magical flare ability, so you can really start powering through your deck. But you really want to see a rare candy Emboar here, and we see an Ultra Ball. Okay, so this is going to be very telegraphing for us, because obviously we only see one player's hand currently, so we don't know what's in your hand. But if we see an Emboar here, we've got to think there's going to be a rare candy coming not long after. But another Fennekin telegraphs that's not the case.
Yeah, going to be the Fennekin here. Intriguingly, Jord did elect to discard away a Pignite in the first of the 2 Ultra Balls that we saw getting played. As we now go over to Jorge's turn, it's going to be the Team Rocket's Petrol, which lets us grab any trainer card in the deck, and it's going to be our Ace-Spec, the Hyper Aroma, that we're going to go for here.
Here's an Ace-Spec we've not seen in a while. Was played in Golden Go EX briefly before, during the first few builds of the deck and a few other things. Lets you grab 3 Stage 1 Pokemon and put them into your hand. Now, this deck is all Stage 1s, so in a deck like this, it makes a lot of sense. You can grab Mega Lopunny, you can grab your Salazzle EX, you can grab your Dunsparce, you basically grab everything you need.
Yeah, absolutely can. I think we might have grabbed one of each of those as we're continuing to churn through the deck here as Jorge grabbing the Buddy Poffin for more Dunsparces. That'll get us the Dunsparces on the next turn. And then the Spiky Hopper to finish off the perfect 160 to take care of that Delphox.
Absolutely brutal, although it's a Spike Up. It's a perfect clean knockout. 160 will exactly do it. So in this matchup, the thing that Jorge really has going for him, he doesn't really even need to use the first attack in this matchup. You don't need to worry about switching. Just do Spiky Hopper and over again. Now I'll deal with, I think, looking at a deck list, I think that deals with most things in the deck apart from like Meowth and Serendipity EX.
Yeah, Emboar.
Oh no, okay, Emboar's 180. So yeah.
Yeah, not quite in range of the Emboar, but that's what something like the Petrarunt might be able to help deal with, along with the stadium of choice, the Perilous Jungle. But now we're going to see the A-Spec of choice for Yord getting played down, and it is that Max Rod getting 5 of any combination of Pokemon and basic energy cards from the discard pile back into our hand.
Yeah, definitely a good find there from Yord, able to get back all of those early Pokemon that were discarded, and now he's setting up his board very wide, and there's the rare candy into Delphox. Okay, so there's a Pignite down here. If the Flaring Magic can find rare candy Emboar, this could be a very surprising burst turn here. What do we see?
Well, we've seen a couple of rare candies getting burned already. We've not quite seen the Emboar yet from the deck, so are some of them maybe in the prize cards? It's just going to be the pass. We don't have the opportunity to attach the second energy, and in fact, we're actually just going to go for the boss play to take care of the Tepig here.
So this is very smart, because if you take out the Tepig, you take out any possibility for Yord to have any kind of energy acceleration, because there's no way to burst out the Emboar without a Tepig down. So it's really going to limit Yord's damage output, and honestly, I think that boss might already have sealed the game for Jorge here. Obviously, don't want to say things too early, but that was a very, very smart choice there to play it. And yeah, sure, the special rare card's going to come in now, but if you're just KOing anything that Yord puts out, I don't think you really care too much.
Yeah, absolutely. That Emboar, by the way, having the Inferno Fandango ability. As often as you like during your turn, you may attach a basic fire energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon. So that's what Freya means when we talk about energy acceleration, because normally you're only allowed to attach one energy onto a Pokemon per turn, but Emboar and abilities like that can kind of cheat the rules a little bit.
Yes, and that's why energy acceleration cards do tend to be so good. Emboar, not one that we've seen broken in the regular standard format, but in combination with Delphox, definitely, as you can see the power of it, right? But with Yord only able to get out one Tepig at a time and just never able to get into that Emboar, does put things in a little bit of a tricky position. At the very least, so we do see the attack going off finally here, so it's going to be 180 damage done. But now we're going to see Jorge evolve into that Salazzle EX. And, okay, just setting it up for a future attack, but recognizing, you know what, at this point, I'm happy just to keep using Spiky Hopper, just deal with these Delphox as they come. I'm 4 prizes ahead at this point, so I think he's feeling pretty okay.
Yeah, you are so far ahead in this point. It doesn't even matter that you're playing against a predominantly one prize deck as well, and that the knockouts from Jord onto Jorge's Pokemon could try and equalize into the prize race. You're taking care of so much energy, so many attackers turn after turn after turn with one-hit knockouts thanks to this Spiky Hopper, that it's just maybe too much advantage for Jord to be able to retrieve from. We see the Ultra Ball failing the search there. Flaring Magic now coming through, discarding another Fire Energy, drawing us 5 more cards. There's the rare candy. There's the Emboar finally. So they were in the deck, Freya. They weren't all stuck in the prizes.
No, so that Ultra Ball would have been just a thin card out of the hand to draw more with the ability so that you could find that Wombo combo, right? Almost certainly was digging for the rare candy. Now, Fire Breather, absolutely great card. Lets you search for a ton of fire energy, but only able to search for 2, I guess, because they've already been through so many energy. Now, I need to correct myself slightly from earlier. Energized Storm, it does 50 damage for each energy attached to all Pokemon. So that's why it's doing so much damage, even though there's not that many energy on your side of the field. So that's 210 with all the energy on the field right now.
Yep, and that will be enough for the knockout with the previous 180 damage that was already on the Mega Lopunny EX. So there's 3 prizes to Jord's name, but the special red card coming through as the first action to immediately disrupt that hand, send it back, and force you to shuffle and redraw 3 cards into your hand. Buddy Poffin now continuing to set up more Dunsparces, and now the Dire Nails attack coming through here from the Salazzle, which is going to burn and poison. Then coming along with the Perilous Jungle, gonna do more poison damage, and this is where the backup attacker really starts to shine. Look at this.
So it's the combination with the Petrarunt, because not only do you get the extra poison damage from the Perilous Jungle, but the Petrarunt's ability also boosts up the poison damage. So you're talking about a 100 damage attack that turns into 100 plus an extra 100 from poison, which is going to be more than enough to knock out Delphox there. But there's something very interesting that a decision that Jorge made not to bench another attacker. So obviously to just set up the Petrarunt here, I guess knowing that Yord can't do much, I mean, if the one Salazzle gets KO'd, it could be game over, so it was potentially risky there, but in this instance, it doesn't matter. There's the energy. We're going to see the retreat into the Salazzle, and with that, I do believe that's going to be Dire Nails for the game.
Yeah, Dire Nails will put the 100 damage. We can switch our Pokemon as well, so that puts the Petron into the active. The extra 20 damage from the Perilous Jungle as well. And just like it did in the last turn, that's going to take care of the Delphox. 200 total damage for game 1 for Jorge.
Salazzle taking it down, and yeah, like you were saying, Ben, it really shows the power of Salazzle as that backup attacker, because, I mean, Mega Lopunny, that's already a somewhat proven archetype as well, right? We've seen it have success already on the regional circuit. Miloslav Posledny did take down Utrecht regionals with Mega Lopunny, so that's proven, but combining with the backup option of the Salazzle, it means that you're hitting certain fire weak stuff. Maybe you can deal with stuff like Hydra that you wouldn't be able to otherwise, so it's a really cool kind of backup attacker, and in that matchup as well, really paid off, able to deal with the Delphox with the Burn plus Poison plus Petrarump plus Dire Nails is absolutely wonderful wombo combo.
Yeah, it's a really great combination to be able to find there. And hopefully for Jord, he'll be able to start finding some of their pieces a little bit earlier on in the game. We didn't see the Emboar until it felt like that the game was pretty far behind them, and get more of that energy acceleration so we can see some earlier energized storms out of Delphox potentially in game 2. We are getting ourselves set up. Both players have a basics. There won't be any mulligans in game 2. We are underway. It's a Salandit start for Jorge. It's a Fezandipity EX start for Jord, who's going to go first.
Yeah, we did have I won the coin flip anyway, but regardless, would have been able to choose whether to go first or second, having lost game 1, so going to be content to go first here. And here's the difference, right? You have the double Tepig down and the Fennekin. An energy onto the Fez is great, because that means you can retreat it next turn. And now let's see what Jorge can do. It's going to be an Ultra Ball to start with. Gonna go ahead and discard one of those Leader Determination and a Salazzle EX, so let's see what the priority is here. I imagine it's got to be one of either Dunsparce or... Hold on, was that... I don't know if I saw any Baneri in that deck search, Ben.
Oh dear, that'll be a huge problem if one of those Baneri, this will be the telling point. No, I don't think there is Baneris available here. It does have 70 HP in this list, so it would be searchable by Buddy Poffin, but not going to be able to be found in that search. So both Baneris look like they very well could be prized.
That is a brutal prizing there from Jorge. We saw how you're leading with that Mega Lopunny was so crucial in game 1. And I think we might see a pretty big reversal of fortunes here. So 3 Dunsparce out is pretty good, so we'll be able to draw a bunch next turn. But meanwhile, look at Yord off to the races. Rare Candy, Emboar, Lilies for 8. This is a feast versus famine if you're comparing game 2 to game 1.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And we've got the Brazen, and we've got the Pignite as well to continue to evolve up. Pokepad to find Delphox to guarantee that evolution for next turn. And while you're not in the fear of any attacks coming through here on this turn, this Fezandipity can just sit there. In fact, it can be charged up. Are we going to see the fabled Cruel Arrow play?
He had Cruel Arrow and chose to use it. That is going to come in 100 damage. Azul will be so proud right now. Going to deal with that Salazzle. Yeah, wow, Cruel Arrow coming in. And yeah, Inferno Fandango can attach to anything, so why wouldn't you? Just you have to deal with something now.
Yeah, absolutely. What a start this has been for Jord. We are now going to see the promotion. There is the Hyper Aroma A-Spec. Going to grab all 3 Dunsparces here. We've promoted the Dunsparce so that we can evolve up into the Dunsparce. And its Runaway Draw will send it back into the deck and give ourselves that spot to promote up into.
So it's going to be very interesting to see how the sequencing is played out here, yeah, for sure. Oh, sorry, you were about to say?
No, I was just saying, there's the second bench of the Salazzle, and that sequencing, like you say, very intriguing, trying to get as many options before we commit to this active to Dunsparce's Runaway Draw. There it goes now, and it's going to be one of the 2 Salazzles that are going to be promoted here. We do have Salazzle EX available to us as well.
Yeah, so this is actually an important point for folks at home who might not be familiar with kind of what the choice is going on here. So, okay, in this instance, Jorge has decided to use all 3. But there are some instances where, say, if you're worried about hand disruption from your opponent's side, you might bank all 3 Dunsparce, but you might not necessarily use more than one turn, because then if your hand does get disrupted, then on the next turn you have that Dunsparce ready to go on the bench to top up your hand again. So there's something to consider whether it's worth using all of your runaway draws just because you have access to them. Sometimes it might be best to save them.
Absolutely, it can be. We're going to fire off the Team Rocket's Petrol here, and that's going to grab ourselves a Boss's Orders. So thinking about maybe next turn, trying to target down either the Lone Ember if Jord doesn't have a second evolution, or the Brazen. We are getting the Rare Candy, though, into Delphox. So that Brazen at the moment sticking around on the board, unless we've got a second Delphox available to us, and then we can really start causing some havoc, and some flaring magic will be sparkling all over this game state.
Yeah, so it makes a lot of sense to go for the Rare Candy into Delphox here, because you have the 2-piece combo. It gets 2 cards out of your hand, so then you can draw more with a Flaring Magic, and then all you need to do to get the second Delphox going is just to draw it and place it down. So it's a really, if you have that combo available to you, it makes absolute sense to Rare Candy into a Delphox first, and then do the evolving the Breaks in later.
It absolutely does. We do see the first of potentially 2 Flaring Magics if we can find a second one in our hand, and we absolutely can do from those 6 extra cards that were drawn. Now we're going to Fire Breather as well as our Supporter for turn to refresh our hand. 7 basic fire energy, the full complement being added here, and this is really, really scorching at the moment, Freya.
I think might be scorching Jorge's entire field. This is exactly what you don't want to see here. This is what Jorge was able to really avoid happening in game 1. But even more smartly, yeah, just keep attacking with his Serendipity. You don't need to come in with your Delphox yet. Just come in with the Cruel Arrow, hit stuff on the bench, force your opponent to be less flexible, because now this Salazzle has to stay in the active, and maybe you're just forced to attack with it, whereas if you carry the active Salazzle, then you give flexibility for Jorge to attack with something else.
Yeah, and the beauty of that choice as well of the Cruel Arrow is that was the Salandit with the energy that was attached to it from the last turn. So it removes the opportunity for Salazzle EX to be able to go in with its 2 energy attack of the Dire Nails on this turn. We are going to get an evolution, though, into Salazzle EX. That Boss's Orders that was packed away from the Team Rocket's Petrol used to bring up the Ember, and that's a hefty retreat cost on that Ember as well. He's mean and he's keen, but not keen to leave the board anytime soon. That's a 4 energy retreat cost.
Certainly not keen to leave the active spots. It's going to be whether you can retreat this Ember or not. It's going to come down to how many energy left are accessible. There's 13 fire in the deck total, so in theory you should have enough to retreat this thing, but yeah, it might get a little bit tricky. In the meantime, we're going to see Jorge end with a nasty plot. This is Salazzle EX's first stack, which is also very good. It lets you search for any 2 cards for the deck, so we'll get those 2 Dunsparce for next turn, but you've got to give the lead to Jord here. Let's see, can he get this beefy Ember out of the active spot?
Well, we're seeing the Inferno Fandango getting activated here. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3. We've missed out on the 4th right now. We're going to Lily's Determination. Is there a 4th? Are we looking for maybe that Max Rod to be able to get some previously discarded fire energy back into the hand? We've already used our Supporter, so Lana's Aid isn't available to us now. It'll be Pokepad for Delphox. Maybe a little bit of finning going on. No, it's a pass.
Very heads up from Jorge, recognizing the opening there, and now, having bought himself a turn, will be able to carry this Ember with the Dire Nails.
So, first up, Evolutions. Very, very heads up indeed. Just getting, you see the capability and the versatility of what we tried to see in the last semi-final as well, is trying to trap some Pokemon in the active spot and make it really awkward for your opponent to try and get them out of the active and back to the safety of the bench. That's not going to happen this time. The only place this Ember is going is the discard pile. Dire Nails switch up into the Pecharunt. We have the ability online, and we have that Perilous Jungle to get over the top of 180 HP. Down goes Ember, and there's the first prize of a Baneri as well for our Jorge player.
What a move. And we were talking, well, just earlier, right, I was talking about the kind of decision as to whether to leave those stun spots out or not. In this instance, because Jorge had everything he needed, this time he didn't go for the runaway draws, wants to save the draws for later, and I think that's a very, very wise choice. I was just looking over at the deck now. Of course, we know that neither player is playing the unfair stamp. And in this instance, there's no third prize card taken, so the special red card won't necessarily come in. But it still makes sense to just leave those Dance Bars out until you actually need to use them. So I really like this move from Jorge. Just in general, I think this was a really clever sequence of turns to try and pull back here, because he was really behind until then. And now at least, okay, you was able to reestablish the Emboar, so that is going to be a little bit rough. And he's still getting hit very, very hard by the Delphox.
Yeah, 330 damage. Energized Storm there takes care of the Pecharunt. Is going to put us down to 3 prize cards at the moment, so not quite going to have the opportunity for a one-turn win here, and especially without the Mega Lopunny not being able to make its way down on this turn. Jorge doesn't necessarily mind, though. He's happy to start engaging in this race a little bit. We have the second Pecharunt making its way down now as well, after the first one was knocked out. So there's the Dire Nails, there's the re-switch into the Pecharunt again. We hit Tails on the burn, but that's not the status condition we're worried about. The poison will take care of the rest.
I mean, to be fair, in that instance, it doesn't really matter, right? Because the tails are just to determine, or the heads or tails are just to determine whether the burn heals or not, but you still do 20, so either way, it's 200 damage with that combo.
Yeah, absolutely is burn. Not a status effect that we get to see a great deal of in the Pokemon TCG standard meta game. So always great to see the lesser used status conditions getting an opportunity to shine, and really doing so in this deck. I'm loving this build.
It's really cool to see burn as used so effectively as it is, and it makes sense as well that you combine it with like the hit and run. You go to the Pecharunt, right? It's really interesting because this card, the Pecharunt, did see a lot of usage pre-rotation in combination with that Brute Bonnet that can poison both active Pokemon, but we've not really seen it used since. So finding a home with Salazzle in this really unique build is really, really cool. But I mean, we have another unique build sitting across the table here with this Delphox, and now this is going to start to get very, very close, because Lanase is going to come in to recover some attackers here. But what Yord really wants to find is some more boss's orders, because if you carry single prizes back and forth, I mean, eventually you will win, but you leave an opening for a potential boss's orders to win the game later. Right now, all that the Yord is able to do is just keep carrying these Pecharunts, and is not finding the boss's orders to deal with, say, either the Salazzle or the Pheasantipity to kind of speed things up.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we're in a situation here for Jord where if they can find a boss's orders, if this Delphox is having the possibility of making its way down here with a knockout from Dire Nails once again, Jord is just potentially a boss's orders away from game. We see special red card now coming down to disrupt that hand from Jord, and there is the Dire Nails KO. Once again, 100 damage, push up the Pecharunt, and the poison will do the rest.
So there was a debate there whether you might consider going for the Pheasantipity instead. It is a little bit rough because 200 is not quite enough for the KO, right? And you really want to be carrying things constantly. But if you go for the Pheasantipity, you force it to maybe retreat, or either that or it gets KO'd going back into your turn from the status conditions, and it gets another energy off the field. It's a little bit tricky no matter what. At the very least, there's a Baneri down though, so maybe what you're just thinking here is, you know what, I can just take another KO on a Delphox and then finish things off with a Gale Thrust with the Mega Lopunny EX on the Pheasantipity EX.
Yeah, there's a couple of different lines for game through these players, and now for Jord drawing their card for turn. Forecast to start things off. If they do have a fire energy available to them as well, we'll be able to see a few more cards with flaring magic, and we do. So we're drawing ourselves up to 7. We find Ultra Ball. Do we still have access to potentially Meowth EX? We don't have right now. It's going to be the Delphox for Rare Candy to evolve up into once again. Inferno Fandango now gonna give us some more energy, and the last card is the boss's orders. So Jord slow rolling us through the game, putting it to the last card in hand. There will be the boss for game to take out the 2-prizer, and for the first time in our TCG coverage, we're going to a game 3.
I'm not gonna lie, ever so slight BM from Jord there, or could have just done boss defense 50, but extra style points, just wanted to get extra damage on the field, but that will take us, yes, to a game 3. So we've now seen decks, on one side or the other, operating at full capacity. We'd really love to see in Game 3 is, can we get both decks without like such awkward start surprising that we see both decks at full power, because that'll be really interesting to see if we can see an early trade with the Delphox is going into the Mega Lopunny and see how that back and forth plays. That would be very curious to see how it pans out.
Yeah, absolutely will. Like you say, we saw Jorge get their place of it in Game 1. Jord getting a strong early prize trade, finding those Delphoxes, finding that early Emboar as well as a Cruel Arrow Prey that Azul GG would be very, very proud of, as you rightfully said, Freya, and then getting all the way down to the last card boss for game before activating that Pheasantipity flip the script ability as well. But like we always want to see, like you said, we want to see both players and their decks going through and going pedal to the metal from turn 1. So let's hope we can see exactly that. It will be Amyverse that will be awaiting either of these players with their Alakazam deck in the TCG final. So who is it going to be that will be going up against them? Will it be Salazzle and Lopunny, or will it be Delphox and Emboar?
Our third co-caster here, again, trans icon my Lozig, I've just whispered into my ear that she thinks that it's going to be very close, but she thinks that Jorge is just going to squeak it out. So let's see if she's right or not.
Yeah, let's have a look and see if they're going to do it. Let's know in the chat, who's going to be your prediction? Is it going to be Salazzle and Lopunny with its Gale Thrust and Poison Pranks and Fanatics? Or will it be Delphox and their Flaring Magical Wand and Emboar to help be the big supporting Pokemon in the back as well? We are getting ourselves set up. Both players have basics. We're underway for Game 3, and it'll be Jorge kicking us off first with Dunsparce in the active.
And I'm not going to lie, we're talking about wanting a more balanced Game 3. This is already looking pretty good. We do see here a couple of Pokepad, we see a Baneri down, we see a couple of Dunsparce, and a server to draw for next turn as well. I think I'm liking what I see here. I think we're going to see a fully fleshed out Game 3, and yeah, another Pokepad just to search out a Salandit, have that as an option for a backup attacker. I am liking the moves right now.
Yeah, it's really, really good. We've also got access to the Dunsparce here for Jorge, so we can immediately run away, draw out of the active and into the Salandit if we can find that Salazzle EX to be able to attack in with on the next turn. Over to Jord's first turn. We do have the fire attachment from hand for Call for Family. We're going to boss up the Baneri here to try and take away that Dunsparce play, and it is going to be a Call for Family.
Yeah, that is not necessarily ideal. It's not the worst start in the world. You do have the Pheasantipity down, so if you get KO'd, you're feeling good either way. But yeah, definitely not firing off on all cylinders. And even more so, we do see Jorge has the Surfer ready to go, so can use that to draw until there's 5 in hand. Finds a runaway, or goes into the Dunsparce, of course. Finds a Salazzle EX and a Fire Energy. I think that's basically everything there, right? What you could do here is you can Ultra Ball, find yourself another Dunsparce, draw 3 more cards, and then you can go into this last one and you're good to go. Wait, you can just retrieve for free, of course. So I'm so used to, normally it's the 70 HP Dunsparce that gets played, that has retreat cost of 1. Of course, that 60 HP Dunsparce has no retreat cost, so you can just go straight in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Not having to burn away the Ultra Ball and burn away extra resources out of hand, just immediately going into the Salazzle EX, getting the first knockout of this Game 3 and pushing the Dunsparce right back up, because if Jord can't knock this Dunsparce out, it means that we're going to have a very similar pattern of play in Jorge's next turn. What can Jord create here? It's going to be the Ultra Ball to start off. There's Meowth EX. Are we going to last ditch catch on this turn, grab ourselves any supporter that we want from the deck? It'll be Lily's Determination. Use it, shuffle your hand into your deck. Ordinarily you'd draw 6, but Jord has 6 prize cards remaining, so we get 8 cards for the effect instead.
Yeah, and what Yoda's doing here is just maximizing his chances of a good hand, because now you have the 8 from the Lily's Determination, and you have, well, you can play all sorts of things, just like thin them out, but you also have that Pheasantipity EX still to come in with that flip the scripts, because Jorge did take a knockout. So Pokepad coming in just to thin the deck by 1 card, and then flip the script. Really wants to be finding a rare candy here. Finds a Pignite. That's not a rare candy Emboar. Do we maybe have a rare candy Delphox?
Well, we have one piece of that puzzle. We did see the Delphox getting searched off of Pokepad. We're gonna thin maybe a little bit further. Buddy Poffin grabs us another Fennekin. The attachment's gonna go onto the one on the bench, so it's not gonna be rare candy into the active Fennekin. It's just gonna be the pass of the turn. And the boss's order's now gonna be punishing again. Gonna go after the Pig Knight, deny that possibility of Embor. Runaway draw, draws us the cards. There's the Salazzle backup. We find Pecharunt as well. And this is all going to plan for Jorge.
Bringing up again, so this we're saying we would want a game kind of where both players are setting up on all cylinders. This is a little bit of a repeat of game one. Like in game one we saw it was just picking off the Pig Knight and just preventing all that energy from coming down, preventing Yord from really getting any meaningful attacks off. And if it keeps up like this, I think we may be seeing Jorge in the finals. But let's not write off Yord yet. There's still plenty of more Pokemon to play. And we did see, last time he was able to get the Delphox going and still get some attacks going. Could maybe, even with a Fire Energy Rare Candy Delphox, you can take the KO on this Dunsparce, for example. So let's not count him out yet.
Yeah, absolutely. The beauty of being able to have that Fennekin with the Fire Energy attacks on the bench means that it was relatively protected, and Jorge favoring denying the energy acceleration of a potential Embor as opposed to just taking down the Fennekin with the energy attached off of play. We do see Ultra Ball come through. That's going to grab ourselves the Brazen, so still no sight of a rare candy just yet to get up into the Delphox, which we thought is still being held on to. It's going to be the manual evolution, though, into the active of Brazen. Fire Breather as our supporter for turn. This doesn't really spell like it's going to be a strong, continuous turn here for Jord.
Braixen is not a Delphox, as plain as it is to say, and with that in mind, okay, to be fair, the Braixen can still do 80 damage. That will still be enough to KO a Dunsparce, so it's not the most ideal turn you could have done, but taking a prize card was the bare minimum there, so Yord has managed to achieve that at least.
Yeah, we've gotten rid of that immediate draw engine. We don't have the opportunity to get ourselves into a Dunsparce and keep runaway drawing. We are now going to see the Ultra Ball make its way down. Gonna get the Dunsparce again, it looks like here. Just getting some more backup, just making sure that we try and keep this Dunsparce engine rolling through and online. Now just debating whether we want to burn any more cards before this Lilies. We are just going to go straight for the shuffle draw of 6. Find ourselves Pokepad and a Buddy Poffin as well that's being used here.
So in this instance, I think you're recognizing, you know what, I am just, going with this Salazzle is doing enough to KO the small things that are in front of me. I'm just going to keep going with this until I just don't want to or need to anymore. This Salazzle is doing more than enough work right now, and yeah, go ahead and send up that Pecharunt for good measure. I mean, they don't necessarily need to get the KO in that instance, which is actually a bit of a shame, because the one thing that's nice about KOing things with Salazzle is because the KOs actually happen with poison damage. It means you can't use Flip the Script, because it's a knockout that happens in between turns from the special conditions.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Yeah, absolutely. Now, finally, we see the rare candy Delphox from Jord. It's 2 prize cards behind at the moment, but not quite out of this just yet. We see the manual attachment. Do we have rare candy with Embor as well? That's going to be the real key, I think, here to make sure that we're getting an attack off on this turn for Delphox. We have a huge 12-card hand. Surely we've got to be able to find some way to put this together, Freya.
Well, I mean, you say that, but Yord is really in the tank here, and that
concession!
just scoops the game!
Wow, so Jorge is gonna take it after a concession from Jord, and Salazzle Lopunny will face up against Alakazam as your Girly Pop Games Ho-Ohdown grand final for the TCG.
And our co-caster Milosic called it, said that Jorge was going to take it, and she was absolutely right. Curious if folks in the chat, if that's what you predicted as well, but wow, what a match that was. And I think it makes sense to end that way as well. I think Yord recognized the writing on the wall from that point, that he was never really going to be able to trade favorably, just because I'm going to guess that the reason why there was a concession there was that in that 12-card hand, there was no rare candy Embor. Because if there was, maybe you could put something together. But with that in mind, if you can't find that, you're basically just out of luck at that point.
Yeah, and it feels like as well that Jaw was maybe a little too far behind as well in that point of view, having so many attacks having gone through and taken throughout the course of that game 3, picking off the Pignite as well to stop some of the Ember energy acceleration, being able to just continue to deny some Fennekins through the game as well, was just a really, really strong play. And this Salazzle, along with this Pecharunt combo, is a really fun little deck to be able to see experimentation with.
It's certainly not something I would have predicted anytime beforehand. But I mean, that again, that's kind of the point of this tournament, right? Is to have fun with new archetypes, to have a little bit of experimentation going on. So really cool to see that. And so we're going to have something that is very much in the meta against something that is very much not in the meta for the finals. That's going to be very, very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So start posting your predictions in the chat early on. Who's going to take our Girly Pop Games Ho-Ohdown Grand Final? Will it be Alakazam or will it be Salazzle with Lopunny and Pecharunt? Before we get into that Grand Final, though, we're going to have an opportunity to hear from our two semi-final 2 players with Shiny as well. So don't go too far, because when we come back, we'll have our players from semi-final 2 and then, of course, our grand final.
Well, everybody, we are back with our 2 players from the second semifinal, Jord and Jorge. I hope Jord, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, and it's not Jord, it's Jord. But anyway, I welcome, and what a best of 3. I was stressed, and then I was not stressed, and then I was stressed out all over again, because I was biting my nails and things that I shouldn't be doing. But it was so exciting to watch. It was a lot of fun. Loved seeing Mega Lopunny. Loved seeing Salazzle. I loved seeing the girlies there. It was a very girly pop matchup. Delphox, it was amazing. Very excited to see that best of 3. Congratulations, Jorge, on winning the best of 3 and making your place on the final. Now, before I go to you, Jorge, and do not reveal to us your secrets, because you still have one best of 3 to go, I want to talk with you. Jord, what did you have in mind when you were putting your deck together for this competition?
I just wanted to showcase some new cards and try to get away from anything remotely meta and just try something new.
That's really cool. That's really cool, because that's what we do. That's what we like in the Girly Pop Games. And honestly, I mean, obviously did well because you're here at a semifinals. So can you tell me a little bit about what's the strategy there? I'm just curious to understand, because I see you were trying to set up the Ember and you're trying to set up Delphox. I wanted to understand, who are your main attackers? Your main attackers, is it correct to say you're Delphox, or is it generally Ember and then Delphox is like your backup attacker? Curious to understand how that works.
It's basically kind of setting up Mega Delphox for just to go in for the kill. I usually go and use Ember to spread energies everywhere to just power up Delphox, and I have different supporters and item cards like Super Rod and Lana's Aid to just keep bringing those Delphoxes back, and I run 4 rare candies, so just kind of keep that momentum going.
Okay, cool. I mean, it's definitely a menacing deck for sure. Like your opponent has to have a lot of preparation or really know how to play around it, so they don't get steamrolled. Because on the second game there, you were really on the lead, and I know there's a lot of RNG and luck with TCG, so the luck was on your side in that sense. You got the tools that you needed to accelerate your game, and it was definitely worth it. It was really cool to see the power that the deck has to be able to really give you a win, which was a lot of fun. We do love a game 3. Now, George, before I do let you go, I wanted to ask if you have any shout outs or thank yous you would like to send to anybody.
Just thank you, Jorge, for the match. Thank you for letting me be a part of this community. It was a really fun match. I just thank all you guys for being here and doing what you do.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for coming in, and thank you also for preparing an off-meta game, a mostly off-meta deck, to show that those things work. And that's why I love about these things. Sometimes people will find different ways to play, and it's really, really cool. Now, Jorge, back to you. Without revealing much of your secrets, I would love to hear from you. What were the highlights of the best of 3 for you? And I just want to say Dire Nails is such a continual name for a move. The Dire Nails and the Megalopony
Yes,
with
absolutely.
the kick. I was like, you know what? My gay little heart is just so happy.
Yeah, same with Nasty Plot. I love the idea of just seeing Salazzle be like thinking, be like, ooh, what is she plotting? Yeah, I think some of the highlights for the games was definitely I remember in the second game, I realized that I prized all my Veneries, so Lopunny was not on the table, and that was me panicking and desperately trying to find a way out. I think in the last game we had he bossed up my Venery that was on the bench, and I wouldn't have had a way to switch it and like really apply that pressure really early on in the game. If it wasn't for the Surfer that I had in my hand, which is only a 1-of in my deck, and I was like, oh, thank you, I have the exact response for this. I'm set. So that was really great. But yeah, I had a great game. That was super fun.
All right. It was a lot of fun to watch, I will say. I was thoroughly entertained. I was just like, was a rush. And also, I just want to give a special shout out to your chubby Dragonite in the back of your video, because some people in the comments over there, exactly over there in the chat, are living for your chubby Dragonite. It's beautiful chubby Dragonite, and I believe your husband is also in the chat, just like very, very proudly saying,
this was his idea.
And he even said that you know, he gave you the idea and made it work. And then one of the casters said, I do think that it seems like Jorge's best position to win this game. And then out like right after that, your husband was like, yes, that's right. And you know what? We love supportive. We love when we have supportive partners, and we love gay. And it's awesome.
And that's gay rights.
Great. So Jorge, thank you so much for taking the time. Jordan, again, thank you so much for participating in the competition and being here with us. We're so excited to see this finale, this top 2. I'm going to let you go to prepare, and I'm going to leave you in the chat on a little bit of an intermission while we prepare for the top 2 and see who win the 200 codes. See you in a bit. Bye.
Well, welcome back. It is time for our grand final for the TCG portion of the Girly Pop Games Ho-Ohdown event. We're going to have Alakazam up against Salazzle and Lopunny. A best of 3 for the finish. The winner walking away with 200 codes, and the loser is going to go home with 100 codes. That's still going to be a pretty strong runners-up prize. You've been with myself, Ben Fitzpatrick, and the amazing Freya Pierce as well. And it doesn't seem like we're going to waste too much time. We're about to get straight into this final.
Straight away with our 2 finalists, Amy on Alakazam and Jorge with Mega Lopunny Salazzle. So yeah, what a finals this is. I don't know, honestly, between these 2, so we're looking at matchup a little bit. I would definitely call Salazzle the underdog here. Alakazam, it's not just the fact that it's kind of a proven meta archetype, but it's also the fact that it can it's one of those few Pokemon like actually take a big one-hit knockout on both Salazzle EX and the Mega Lopunny EX. So that's going to be an Alakazam's favor for sure, but it does not mean that Jorge is out of it, far from it. So it's going to be a very interesting match. I'd love to see how it plays out, but I'm going to give the slight edge to Amy here. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, it definitely feels like you say, with that Mega Evolution Pokemon as a possibility, that Amy could have the advantage, but we're about to get underway and find out. Game 1 is here. We have Amy going first with this Alakazam deck, and hits the Buddy Buddy Popfin on turn 1 as well.
An ideal setup as you can ask for, so we'll be able to get a couple of basics down onto the bench, start setting up a pretty, I was about to say set up pretty widely, but it looks like it's just going to be the 1 Buddy Popfin. I think as long as you can get 1 Abra and 1 Dunsparce down, you're usually feeling okay. Speaking of Dunsparce, we're going to see an exact return fire off of a Buddy Popfin for 2 Dunsparce from Jorge's side, followed up with Lily's Determination for 8, and another Buddy Popfin. My goodness, what a setup.
Yeah, but we're just going to go with a Fire Claws here for 20 damage. We mentioned Amy, we heard Amy mention their post-game interview in the semi-finals about how the Abras don't necessarily have the most HP on themselves, just the 50, so can be a little weak to some possible quick early attacks from Pokemon. But we see the evolution up into Kadabra, finding ourselves our first Psychic draw of this grand final, drawing ourselves 2 cards into hand. There's another one.
Yeah, and then there's another one. But with that, it means that there is a consignment to not attack, or like a basically condemned to not attack with the Alakazam, which is very unfortunate. If you can get a rare candy Alakazam going, that's a really good feeling because you can get an early prizer, and that feels really great. But with the 2 evolutions of the Kadabra, not going to be able to do that, unfortunately. But there we do see an Elgin coming down. That could be handy later for denying the Salazzle for attacking. We have to remember, this deck doesn't play any energy acceleration, so Slight Shift should come in. Hold on a second.
Ooh.
That is an Airy.
Airy coming down
okay.
here. So we're going to get a look here, or Amy's going to get a look at the hand of Jorge, and is going to be able to discard some cards out of it. So denying the second Buddy Poffin, we top deck another one anyway.
I mean, okay, that is pretty nice, but I think it's really the Pokepad discard that was devastating, because that Pokepad could have found a Dunsparce to draw cards, but with the Airy discarding it, that's actually left Jorge in a bit of a pickle here, and it's bought Amy the exact turn that she needs, considering that she wasn't able to attack that turn.
Yeah, and also the peek into the hand, seeing that there was no Salazzle EX or no way to find it either. So the Salandit having to attack in for just 20 damage. We now see the evolution up into a 3rd Kadabra. So Psychic draw for 2. We need to find a way to get this Kadabra out of the active as well as into the Alakazam. There's one potential piece of the puzzle with Pokepad, but we're going to go for Dunsparce instead, start getting this runaway draw engine going.
Yeah, this to me telegraphs that there's probably an Alakazam already in hand. Otherwise, I think you definitely prioritize that first. Just because with the Dunsparce, you draw 3, but then you're putting the Dunsparce back into the deck. So actually, you reduce your odds of drawing another energy. That's where you need to retreat here. But, oh, is that...
Well, there's the Alakazam. So that's going to make its way down. Psychic draw.
No, there's the Alakazam coming down. There we go.
Yeah, there it is. Psychic Draw going to draw us 3 cards this time, as opposed to the Kadabra, which Psychic Draw effect only gets us 2. We now find the Dawn here as our supporter for turn. That's going to grab us a full Dunsparce and Dunsparce line, as well as a 2nd copy of Alakazam.
So we'll be able to draw another 3 cards with that by evolving that other Kadabra on the bench. And yeah, you just want to see an energy to retreat here. If you already have it, maybe you save the Alakazam, you don't play it straight away. But no matter what, you really need to make sure that you attack this turn. You want to capitalize on this time that you've bought. And there it is. There's the Psychic Engine coming down. So Amy's going to be feeling very good about things right now. She wants to start capitalizing on this advantage, start taking KOs as much as possible.
Ooh.
Oh, and cool. Okay, wax down that Genesect with the handheld fans. That Ace Nullifier ability is going to come in. Well, why do you explain what that does to the folks at home, Ben?
Yeah, so the Ace Nullifier, if there is a tool attached onto the Genesect, then your opponent is not going to be able to play any Ace-Spec cards. So the powerful Ace-Spec type card you're only allowed 1 of in your deck, in this case for Jorge, will deny the Hyper Aroma, which could have gotten in to Dunsparce's, Mega Lopunny EXs, and Salazzle EXs on this board state.
It would have been pretty much the best top deck that Jorge could have had. So Amy able to put that together, recognizing that denying that absolutely makes the most sense. And it's interesting. I was saying about how she wanted to take the KO here. She decided not to. I think she really is probably thinking of her mind to, you know what, I don't want to take a KO until I KO this Baneri, because the Baneri, if that gets KO'd, I'm not really worried about an attack coming in, and I can preserve the energy without, because it means I don't have to retreat the Alakazam, and I also deny Serendipity EX. So that's why she decided to wait that 1 extra turn, and it seems like right now that decision's paying off in spades, because she's about to KO this Baneri.
Yeah, absolutely. Coupled with the fact as well that the Mega Lopunny EX is a single energy attacker in terms of dealing damage. Yes, the Salazzle EX does have an attack that can use a single energy, but it doesn't do any damage. It just searches the deck for 2 cards here. So actually going after the prime attacker in this matchup and in this situation right now, powerful hand for 300, takes care of the Baneri and takes the first prize in this final.
It is a commanding lead for for Amy here, and yeah, just really smartly recognizing the best way to kind of stop anything from happening. Because if that one Poképad got fired off, and I have to point out, when that area got played, there was a thunder crash right behind me, literally exactly on time. It wouldn't have come through on stream, but I think that's like basically a summation of how much of an impact it had in this game, because Amy is now running away with this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thunderous impact to take care of that Poképad, and it's going to show we've got boss's orders here, and now we are going to go after a Salandit with the energy attachment being committed. Powerful hand again, 320 damage this time being dealt because of the 2 damage counters for each card that we draw in hand. Strong top deck though there for Jorge. We find Poképad and the Dunsparce.
Perfect timing there for Jorge. Exactly what he needs to get back into this. That runaway draw is going to be able to come in and draw 3 extra cards. And by the Lily's determination, could not have asked for a better top deck there.
Yeah, really, really strong potential of a turn here. Also has the Buddy Poffin to fill that bench space out a little bit more. Gonna contribute the Perilous Jungle as the stadium. And now the Ultra Ball, grabbing another Dunsparce, doing as much thinning of the deck as we possibly can before we fire off this Lily's Determination for that big 8-card draw.
I mean, the only tricky thing here is obviously this helps set up extra attackers, but there isn't really anything great you can go for attack-wise this turn. You aren't able to really attack with a Salazzle because your board was completely wiped of energy. So you can get 1 energy on, and that's going to at least get you somewhere. But ultimately, Amy is still like very much in the lead here, and it's going to be really tricky for Jorge to mount an attack. So for now, yeah, just set up the Dunsparce, and I think you really have to hope and play around mainly just hope that there's no access to the boss's orders from Amy, because if Amy can just keep targeting down either the Salazzle or these energies, she can just keep taking prize cards and really just deny any kind of move from Jorge, any kind of comeback potential.
Yeah, absolutely. 1 boss's orders already having been used on that turn prior. Could we find ourselves into another one? We've got a Dunsparce set up now for Amy, so we could see an extra 3 cards getting drawn here. Have not yet seen the Enriching Energy out of Amyverse yet. That is their A-spec of choice. We're going to see Nighttime Mine come down here, bumping away the stadium. Not going to help too much in this matchup because it forces attacks used by Terra Pokemon in play to cost 1 extra colorless energy more, but at the very least, it's bumping away the stadium. There is the boss's orders!
Finds the boss's orders, is able to KO the Salandit, and actually kind of preempted the next point I was going to make here. Out of the 2, because you can target either the Baneri or the Salandit here, and the Salandit makes a lot more sense, and it makes a lot more sense for one simple reason. You know that unless you get hand disrupted with a special red card, that you're going to keep your hand, and if Jorge wants to mount an attack, it needs to be with the Mega Lopunny. If the Mega Lopunny comes down, that's worth 3 prize cards. So if you're going to go ahead and attack that, that's your last 3 prizes to win. So doing it in that order makes a lot more sense because you force the Mega Lopunny out early.
So we're seeing this Poképad coming down here now from Jorge. Going to have a little bit of an extra look through the deck. Try and figure out what other options are available for the rest of this turn, for maybe the rest of this game. If the advantage continues to carry on here, the Dunsparce will be evolved onto. Will we commit the energy to the Baneri? We are.
You know what, actually, it's very poignant that you said that, Ben, because I was looking through that deck search, and I don't know if either I just didn't see properly or I missed it, but I'm fairly sure I didn't see the special red card, so it might be in those prize cards, and if that's the case, you rolled to the Mega Lopunny, you have no way of disrupting the hand, this is going to be very, very tough.
Yeah, we are going to go
it's not there.
Yeah, it's not there. Team Rocket's Petrol just having a double check as well. So it is just going to be the Mega Lopunny EX here that we're going to go in with. Gale Thrust will do its boosted amount of damage because it moved from the bench into the active spot here. So that deals with 1 Alakazam, but there's already a freshly powered Alakazam waiting on the bench. And we've got the Runaway Draw as well available to us and the Pheasantipity. So we should have the knockout here available to us if we're Alakazam. Runaway Draw again.
I mean, I was going to say, you didn't actually even need it. You had 17 cards in hand. You could have just announced Powerful Hand and won the game, but once again, doing extra draw, extra damage for the style points. That will be Amy taking down game 1 in very convincing fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. Got a commanding lead early. Like we said, chase down that energy, chase down those attackers in the early game, and putting Jorge into a point where he had to unfortunately go Mega Lop on EX or bust. And in this situation, Alakazam was just weaving its magic way too quickly and way too easily throughout Amy's board state, and able to do so much damage to take care of that 3-prizer.
Yeah, and especially with that special red card prize as well. If you go ahead and do an attack with the Mega Lopunny and combine that with a special red card, getting to 330 damage is actually really, really difficult. It was the fact that the special red card wasn't available that really sealed it there, because otherwise, yeah, you petrol for that special red card, you put Alakazam to a free prize card hand, or a free card hand, and it's very... I think it might actually be almost impossible to get to 17 cards in hand from only 3. I'm trying to think about the maths on that one. Either way, it was going to be very, very tough, and it would have forced a lot more out of Amy, but in that instance, not even necessary because the hand just was able to stay as is.
Yeah, absolutely. Hand disruption is the key against Alakazam because its attack relies on having a plethora of cards in hand to deal those 2 damage counters for each card that you've got. It used to be a case of pre-rotation that Iono was the big hand disruption to get rid of Alakazam's threat. Now obviously relying on cards like the Unfair Stamp as the ace spec, which puts you to 5 and your opponent to 2 if your opponent was knocked out on the turn prior. Special red card as the item as hand disruption as well to put your opponent down to 3 cards in hand with some extra conditional effects as well. But with not much hand disruption running around in this event and even in the format generally because of the limitation on Unfair Stamp as your ace spec, Alakazam has had a little bit more of an opportunity to start running around in the main standard meta.
And it's interesting as well because I think, so I play Alakazam a lot, right? I think I mentioned earlier in the stream as well, I actually played today at a mid-year celebration. To me, I'm a lot less scared of Special Red Card than I am of Unfair Stamp, because just that 1 extra card means that when you start your turn, you start with 4, and that's usually enough to get you back to where you want to be. It definitely feels a lot worse of Unfair Stamp because your whole hand gets shuffled in, so you can't even prepare, because with a special red card the hand gets shuffled and you put this at the bottom of the deck, right? So you can kind of tailor your hand in a way where you know that what's in your deck that's left over to draw will still be able to get you out of any given situation, but with the Unfair Stamp the whole thing gets shuffled and you have way less control.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are jumping in to our game 2 here for Amy. They just need one more game. They just need this victory to go home with 200 code cards. I think as well it's quickly important to mention and reiterate the whole reason why we're doing this event in support of the Lambert House LGBTQ+ Youth Center over in Seattle. We're raising money and awareness for that. We are up to $700 raised for that cause. So if you haven't donated already, there's the link pinned in the chat, or also I believe !donate might be the keyword as well to go in for the chat to be able to donate. But we're underway in game number 2. It's a Petulant start for Jorge and a Pheasantipity start for Amy going first.
Yeah, really not ideal to start with Pheasantipity. It's something that ideally you don't even necessarily want to bench all the time, but sometimes that's just the way it goes. With at least with the Buddy Puffin, like in game 1, it's pretty much just a Buddy Puffin for a 1 of each start. So gonna be feeling okay enough about that, I suppose. Oh, his hand is not great. There's a Petrol at least, but it's a bit of a tough choice about what to grab, because you really want a Lily so you can draw next turn, but you also want to get your basics down. So I think the choice is the Buddy Puffin here. But, woof is all I can say to that.
Yeah, it's not the ideal start here for Jorge by any stretch of the imagination. Is going to grab the Dunsparce in the hope that they draw into a way to find the Dunsparce on the next turn. And that Salazzle, we do have the Salandit, sorry, they do have the basic Salazzle in hand, which we haven't seen any of so far in this game. It has the Sudden Scorching attack for 2 energy and the Flamethrower attack for 3, which does 100 130. But right now, Amy, with their turn, is starting to continue to accelerate. Here comes the Hilda down onto board, and this will be telling about whether we've got access to rare candy or not. Doesn't seem like we do. Kadabra and Enriching Energy going to be grabbed.
Yeah, and I think I don't mind this adaptation purely because you have seen that your opponents had a very poor start. So with that in mind, you can go ahead and just grab more stuff to just, get extra setup going. You can grab Enriching Energy, draw some extra cards. I mean, you could have maybe considered grabbing. So I think I don't know if the thunderbolts are causing the occasional internet skips every now and then. I don't know if you guys have seen some of the flashes of lightning in the background here, but yeah, they are as bright as they look. But yeah, with that Enriching Energy onto the Serendipity, you want an energy on there to be able to retreat, so that makes sense to set that up and find a buddy pop in. So it's really just prioritizing getting the board set up there, and yeah. Again, like I was saying, I don't know if it got cut off, but with the slower setup in mind, I think it definitely makes sense to prioritize.
It's a little bit of a shame that it had to be the Enriching Energy that was attached on to the Serendipity EX there. Would have loved to keep that on a Dunsparce so that we could recycle it in with its runaway draw capability on the Dunsparce. But you see this poor start here from Jorge continuing on, just the attachment onto Pecharunt and the pass, and Amy just taking this time that is going to be granted for everything that it's worth. There's the Dunsparce, there's the Alakazam with a Psychic draw for 3 as well. All we need is an energy attachment and we can start attacking.
Yeah, it does. Some folks in the chat saying Thunderous making a guest appearance in the stream, and yeah, absolutely. You know what? I am very glad that Thunderous is such an ally. You know what? I'm very okay with that.
Absolutely, and going in here now, Alakazam getting that energy attachment, using the Buddy Poffin to grab another Dunsparce and the Dedenne. Pokepad now for Kadabra. I mean, we want to talk about allies. Abracadabra, Alakazam. There is magic being worked on this board state right now. More Psychic draws, more cards in hand. We find the boss as well in all of that. We didn't even play a supporter, Freya.
That's what this deck does, Ben! You draw 1 bajillion cards and you just find everything that you need, and when you can just draw cards turn after turn after turn, find all the exact pieces, and with Jorge really not finding much of anything, it's so brutal. I honestly think, as tough as it is, it might have been a consideration to, during that early turn where with the petrol, maybe going for a Lydia's Determination instead of the Buddy Puffin, just because the rest of the hand was so awful, but just going for the Buddy Puffin instead. And Amy, it's the main thing she needs to do now is not lose her cool. So there is, it's very important when you're in a very leading situation like this to not get cocky, right? You still want to do your setup properly. You want to insulate your board. You don't want to give your opponent a chance to come back. You want to take that advantage you have and capitalize it, and that is what Amy's doing. She's still setting up her Dunsparces. She's setting up everything that she needs to secure this win, even though it already looks very likely.
Yeah, she's still playing as if the prizes are level, or even as if she was behind on prize cards as well, and making sure she's doing everything correctly, getting the sequencing right, and leaving absolutely nothing to chance, like you say there, Freya. Doesn't find the boss's orders on this second turn, so is just going to have to deal with the Pecharunt knockout. Boss's orders makes an appearance now for Jorge, but this is more going to be a boss in hope to try and stall and buy a turn or two, with the Serendipity being brought into the active.
Pokepad comes in after that boss's orders, just, yeah, like you were saying, just tries to buy some kind of time, but all you need here if you're Amy is another energy, and you will be able to retreat the Serendipity and just keep on this sling of attacks. It would even be a consideration. Obviously, the Salazzle can do damage, but honestly, if I'm Amy here, I think I just want to get rid of this Dunsparce, right? Because it means that if you KO this Dunsparce, it means that the Dunsparce isn't an out to this terrible start. Oh, it finds the air balloon, so it's already ready to go.
And we do see the bump of the stadium here now, the Perilous Jungle, and Amy agrees with you, Freya. It's going to be the powerful hand into the active, deny the Dunsparce, deny the draw. It's going to leave Jorge realistically with a top deck and a dream. It is the Salazzle EX, but we don't have second energy to be able to find here. So with Alakazam keeping onto its hand, it's going to be a nasty plot, but unfortunately the nasty plot is going to befall for Jorge here, because it should be a case of going been through the motions, probably even just a declaration of the powerful hand attack to be able to take this game. There is the declaration. There is 340 damage, and Amyverse on Alakazam is your TCG champion for the Girly Pop Games Ho-Ohdown.
Queer icon Alakazam, queer dad perhaps, who's like, been through the motions so many times, has so much life experience behind him, he's able to bend spoons with his mind, and Alakazam will be taking things down. Genuinely, I think maybe the most queer deck of the meta right now, other than maybe Flareon, because like, the Emma Hagen special, but yeah, wow. Amy taking it down with Alakazam. Huge congratulations to Amy, and very important to say as well, commiserations to an archetype that came out of nowhere and were able to take it all the way to the finals, truly in the spirit of a Girly Pop game. So huge commiserations to Jorge, a very well-deserved second place as well.
Absolutely, and as we said, Jorge isn't going to be going home empty-handed either. 100 codes will be going to them, but Amy will be taking 200 codes away as champion for the Girly Pop Games Ho-Ohdown. I remember when those code cards used to be precious commodities to trade away for some important cards that you need back on TCG Online. We're here on TCG Live nowadays, though. That's still going to be some great digital pack opening that we're going to be able to do as Amy.
I'm going to ask you a question now. Were you around back when, so at the very beginning, when any code card you scanned gave you a booster credit that you could then redeem for any pack you wanted, all the way back in 2011?
I was not back in that day. That's a fair bit away from when I came back and joined into the Pokemon TCG world.
Yeah, that was so basically the debut of like Black and White, and when they started doing code cards as a thing with the TCG Online, and when the Hot Gold Soul Silver sets, they were in the TCG Online, but there was no way to actually get them because, like, the codes, the packs for those sets didn't have codes in them. So they made the system where any code you redeemed, instead of getting a matching pack from the set, which you would do now, you got a booster credit, which you could then redeem for anything. It's
wow.
Yeah, wild to see how far the game has come. That was 15 years ago, and I've been casting now for 10 years and competitively playing for 15, and I feel very old saying that, all things considered. But it's incredibly nice after all that time to be able to cast something like this, which for very obvious reasons is very near and dear to my heart, and just really, really glad to be here and to have been able to get to do this with you as well, Ben. I mean, don't want to take too much attention away from our winners, of course, but it was an absolute pleasure getting to cast with you, and I hope we get to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. And to take down the veil a little bit here and to be a little bit candid, this was my first ever Pokemon TCG event that I have casted. I've been very, very fortunate to cast things like the One Piece card game and Star Wars Unlimited and things like that, but I've played Pokemon and been around in the competitive Pokemon sphere for over 10 years after meeting Henry Brand at school back in Australia. This has been something that is the first step towards an absolute dream come true, and to help it being in support as well of the wonderful folks at Girly Pop Games, in support of the Lambert House in Seattle as well. I couldn't think of a better way and a better circumstance to make a Pokemon TCG casting debut. So thank you to everyone at Girly Pop Games, and to each of you as well for tuning in. We're not quite done yet though. We've got to hear from our finalists, so don't go anywhere, because Shiny will be right back with those finalists' interviews.
Welcome back, everybody. We have here your top 2 for the TCG portion of the Ho-Ohdown. Well, I put the Ho in Ho-Oh, and Jorge put the Hor in Jorge, as he told me behind the cameras before we started the competition. So just in case anybody wants to say anything. But anyway, Jorge and Amy, this was really fun, a really fun match, really interesting to see your deck, Jorge, working against a different kind of deck. And I think, Amy, the force that is Alakazam. And I think one of the things that I love the most about Alakazam is the fact that I don't think, like, there is the X Pokemon are the support Pokemon, and the damage dealer is like a regular Pokemon. So even if the damage dealer your attacker gets defeated, it's one prize. So I also think that's also such a cool thing, considering how many different types of Pokemon you have in the TCG. But anyway, I want to say congratulations for Amy on winning and being the winner of the TCG, of the Girly Pop Cup Ho-Ohdown TCG. But before I go to you, Amy, I want to go to you, Jorge. Jorge, now that we finished all the best of threes, would you like to tell the class a little bit about how you made your husband's request work? How do you make Salazzle and Megalopony? What did you have in mind to make that work for you?
Yes. So I originally saw, well, he really wanted me to make Salazzle work, and I was like, I don't know how about Salazzle. 100 damage for 2 energy was not a ton of damage nor a ton of effects. But it honestly works really well with the Pecharunt, and being able to like switch into the Pecharunt and having like ways of switching. So I mostly built the deck around having Salazzle and Pecharunt, and then I was adding the Dunsparce because it's like the easiest engine to just throw into a deck. And then I realized that I was having a lot of trouble against stuff that's like really tanky, or like I'll leave a bunch of different damage, and so she'll spread a lot of like the burn damage, the poison damage that she's left on somebody. But then Megalopony, that's where she came in, because she could finally clean up the game, because who doesn't want Megalopony to stomp on you? And so that's how Megalopony got in there. The deck was honestly super fun, and that's how I made Celestial work.
Listen, I just know that 5 homosexuals just said, yes, ma'am, yes, girl, over there when they saw Megalopony. You know, all of them were like, yes, work. Period.
Yes, absolutely.
You know?
But I didn't want to make Megalopony the way that everyone else was making Megalopony, which is usually with like the exploding ghosts, because that's too much. That's too meta. That's too oppressive, I think. But Salazzle's fun. Salazzle lets you move around, forces them to like use their resources to like boss you up.
And the dire nails, honey, I will never forget about the dire nails, because they're not a dire claw, they are a dire nail. And I love that.
Yes.
I love that. Well, Jorge, this was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to see how people are able to explore with different decks. And one of the things that I enjoy the most, because I came from VGC first with the things that we do with the Girly Pop Games, it's really fun to see other Pokemon games where Pokemon that in VGC would not even be considered full-on meta, full-on doing amazing stuff on other games, which I personally love, and it's really, really fun to see. Now, Jorge, before we go to Amy, I would love to ask, do you have any shout-outs and any thank yous you would like to do? And I'm sure this will include your husband, but anyway.
Yes, absolutely. My first and foremost shout-out is to my husband for both giving me the deck idea, but also just because I'm using his setup, and he has been very gracious and helpful and very supportive and everything. So
as he should.
Shout out to him, as he should. And yeah, definitely all my friends. He had a group that was also supporting me. So just thank you to everyone who was supporting me, and thank you to you guys for setting this up. It was a super fun tournament.
Absolutely, Jorge. Thank you so much for participating. Again, we love to see how people understand the things that we put together and the metas that we put together. I'm very happy to hear that you had fun. And you know what? We love gay, and it's awesome. And talking about loving gay, Amy, would love to hear from you. Tell us about your deck. Tell us about your Alakazam. Tell us about that. Is it fair to say that the Alakazam deck is quite a meta deck? Or, because if it is, I don't care. It's really, like, I love Alakazam as a Pokemon, you know? And I kind of sad that he fell down over the years with the new generation. So I love to see her back with her big mustache, you know, teaching all these women how to play. So I'm very excited, very, very excited to see an Alakazam deck. So tell me a bit about it.
Absolutely. So Alakazam is a deck that I really saw pushed into the spotlight after our girl Karis Jones represented all of us by winning the Indianapolis Regionals.
Period.
And I loved her take on the deck.
Yeah.
It was wonderful to see the little Elgium just making her way through the tournament, just moving the energy away, not doing any damage, but just kind of just being a little menace. And it's so adorable. And I love the list, like being more control focused, even with the Dedenne, having that little cutie just like get you stuff from the discard. It feels really wonderful. the reason why I chose Alakazam as a deck to play in this format, it is a meta deck, but one of the things that I really wanted my deck to have, because I realistically only play like one deck for the whole like format. And the reason why I chose Alakazam is just because I love consistency. I love being able to draw so many cards. I
Mhm.
love decks that have different kinds of lines and different ways to do stuff. Like with Alakazam, it was this sort of control package. Before this, I was playing Dragapult, and that was quite fun. But the mirrors just became a bit too much, and I felt like I had to have a bit of change of scenery. Um, and honestly, like for the tournament, I wanted to make a Sylveon deck before the whole Sylveon box thing became popular at the, I think it was NAIC where they made it popular. But I woke up a little bit too late and I wasn't able to make the deck really quickly, so I just submitted Alakazam. But honestly, I'm really happy I did because it was kind of a learning experience. This was my first time really playing Alakazam in a tournament, and I had a lot of fun with the deck. And just seeing all these little pink girlies just doing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of damage in one attack just by having a huge book of cards, it's huge. I think if I were to give this deck a theme, it would really just be women in power. Just being able to
Period.
control the match, just being able to do huge damage. You have the whole book, you have the whole like all the different options right at your disposal. You don't need to search for anything. It's all laid out, and it's a wonderful deck. I really really enjoyed playing it. I also do
And
want to say I loved Jorge's deck so much. The Salazzle and Lopunny, just absolute divas, and I didn't think that I would be seeing Salazzle in this tournament at all. Just the idea of being able to poison and then switch into Pecharunt, absolutely amazing.
And honestly, gag. And also, I think one of the best things about a deck like Alakazam is it's predictable because people know how to play around it, but at the same time, everybody will be gagged. That Alakazam will be putting his unit on his face with his long ass, mustache, because women can have mustaches too, and just gag everyone with sheer power, which honestly, we do love a little bit of a hyper offense on the girly pop world, which is very fun. So, Amy, I just want to ask you a question. What do you have to say about the allegations that the Dene is an industry plant in your deck?
The Dene?
Yeah, he's an industry plant. Because I heard some of those allegations in the chat, people saying that the Dene was an industry plant. So I'm curious to know.
You know how hamsters get in these little wheels and stuff? And,
Mhm.
in the industry, they'd use the hamsters to, like, run around the wheels and generate electricity. Dedenne is the one who's in charge. He's the one who's, like, bossing around all the other hamsters.
And you wouldn't expect because the Dene looks like the cutest little ball of fur, which I love that.
Yeah, it's the perfect cover, isn't it?
It's the perfect cover because you'll be like, oh, that's so cute. You turn around, he will bite your leg. Bite your leg.
I think LGM's the machine. Dedenne is the boss.
I love it. And honestly, the LGM girls are going to be very happy with that choice because, every Pokemon has a person who loves it, and the LGM girls are just very happy that they were chosen and represented and had a really important role in winning the competition. Now, Amy, I think it's also fair to talk about, I think, the sisterhood, which is something that you organize with a bunch of other people, which is not to be confused with the sisterhood side event that happens in regionals. It's a different kind of event, but it's online, and it has a very similar focus than the Girly Pop Games. Our focus is queer people. I know the sisterhood focus is focusing on women and gender non-conforming people to enjoy competitive gaming, because we all know that sometimes competitive gaming can be quite toxic. And I'm not only talking about all the straight white men, although 98% of the problems come from them. But aside from that, anyway, Amy, would you like to talk a little bit about it?
Absolutely. So the Sisterhood Sundays is what we call it because we do them on Sundays, is a little series of tournaments that we have started in our Discord server. And we originally wanted to do it through webcam because not a lot of people play on webcam in the Pokemon community. And as someone who's part of the webcam sort of scene, I've noticed that it's very, very male dominated, even more so than on live and in-person tournaments and stuff. So I wanted to make something that could really sort of be this safe space for women and non-binary people in our community, because in person is great. I think Pokemon is one of the best things you can do, like in person, going outside and having fun, and just playing this game with other people. It's wonderful. And people that I've met, at least in real life, have been very respectful and very nice, and it's just a wonderful community. But when it comes to online, sometimes
Mhm.
things are not quite like that.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you have people who just use the fact that they're behind a screen to just they're shielded, right? They can do and say whatever they want, and a lot of the time, this transcends beyond the Pokemon community, of course, but
Yeah.
a lot of the time we just don't think about what we say, and that there's another person behind the screen who can feel the effect of your words and stuff. But even still, even for the people who have never had to experience that side of the internet, who have never been on the receiving end of any kind of bullying or hateful comments, it's wonderful to just have this space where there's people like you who can just have fun and play this game and learn and improve together. Because there's a lot of stigma in the Pokemon community about queer or feminine people in the scene being, I don't know, a lot of people would say, oh, this is a girl, I'm going to be really, like, I got lucky that I got paired up against a girl, I'm going to win this or whatever. And it's like, why is that the case, right? Women can do well. We saw Karis win Indy, like, I think it was just a week after we started doing the sisterhood tournaments, which is kind of ironic. But yeah, I wanted to just have this kind of space for the women of our community. And I know that they had the sisterhood side event at the regionals, which is where I kind of got the inspiration to do this, because I thought to myself, it might be difficult to find people for this because there aren't that many of them online. But if they could do it at the regionals, surely we could get like 4 people every
Yeah.
week and just hang out and play some Pokemon. And honestly, that's all you need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's and I think there's a poetic freedom. We say in Portuguese poetic freedom, but it's like we have a bit more of an excuse when you're organizing tournaments that are not official tournaments necessarily tied to play Pokemon, which allow us to be a bit more restrictive with the people that participate, because sometimes it's a matter of like a positioning, and when we do these things, we are able to be a bit more restrictive to really 100% guarantee that the people that are participating will all be part of the community we're trying to foster, right? So it's really fun to see. I love the name Sisterhood Sundays, and you know what? In the day of our Lord and Savior Jesus Marie Elizabeth Christ, we have the Sisterhood Sundays. Hallelujah. Jokes aside, it's really cool. Thank you so much for sharing. And I do think that every time a group of people self-organize to do these things, it just empowers more and more people. There's no one organization that should own everything. The more organizations, the more people, the more groups that get around and organize and do stuff, the best it is, because it means that more people are finding more people. Anyway, Amy, huge congratulations for being the winner of the TCG. Jorge, thank you so much for bringing the cuntiest Pokemon in the competition, or at least 2 of them. And I will see you in the next few questions, and not next few questions, in the next few minutes. I will just let everyone go, organize a few things, and I will be back in the next few minutes. See you. Well, everyone, thank you so much for participating on today. It was a lot of fun. It was a long event. I'm very happy to have had all of you here. We have our 2 winners of the VGC and the TCG competition. I'm very excited to see what the future will bring us. Stay tuned on our socials to see whatever new things we are planning to happen. Also, thank you everybody so much who donated. We were able to raise in this entire thing $700. So we are very, very happy to know that this is happening. And before we go, remember, don't make unnecessary journeys. Don't take risks on treacherous roads, and don't swim in the sea. We will see you, and we are raiding into the St. Jude tournament, supporting our dear sister Zelda Vox, who is competing and raising money for people. Thank you so much. We'll see you. Bye.